When you were going to start your brewery, when you were in the either the planning stages or getting it underway, who did you reach out to? Anybody locally, any brewery owners that you want to mention that you got great advice from that helped you along the way and still do?
Oh Lord, that's a tough question. Ozzy at Mayday, the guys at which they opened a year or so before us, Trey and Jessica at Happy Trails, the guys at Calf Killer, they're awesome to deal with. Right down the road from here in Tullahoma, Mike Thornburg with Old Shed. I picked his brain a lot.
Yeah.
I was one of those late night, I'm coming in from my job in Nashville and I'm up till 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning on the internet, researching stuff. I'm drawing a blank on somebody that I was right when you said that, I was thinking about them. Anyway, I'll come back to it, but one of the things I ran across when we were doing our, planning, there's a guy out in Colorado. His name is Tom Hennessy, but, he's opened, Lord, I don't know how many breweries, but at that time he was with Colorado Boy up in Montrose, and he does a brewery immersion course. And he's very like shoestring, like he's one of these guys that, you don't have to go and buy this super automated fancy stuff if you're doing the brew pub model. And he was really good about helping us. And we actually went out and spent 3 days, and he opens up his books. He helps you. He looks at your demographics, where you're at, helps you kind of pinpoint where you should be financially, from a business standpoint. And it also helps you with sourcing equipment. He's Ryan at Living Waters. He went through him and his partner went through the same course. The guys, which they went a different direction because they're much more production oriented, but the guys at Tennessee Brew Works went through it. He was a huge resource for us, and he saved me. I credit him for us getting into this and being successful as we are because, the equipment that he helped us source and stuff saved us a ton of money that I would not want to be paying for right now, for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, just in general, the guys at Red Silo, that's what I was going to say. I know, I used to go to school. I graduated from Tennessee Tech in Cookeville, and, their brewery is just amazing. And, we would go up there, and they were very open about stuff and, helped me with some of the numbers that I was trying to put together. For me, I don't consider myself a financial guru, but when we were planning, I just start thinking about, I got to have this much money. This is that many pints. Like I just couldn't justify it, and I can remember going up there and talking to them, and they're like, oh no, you can do that. I'm like, oh, okay.
You're on the right path.
Better idea, man.
We've heard so much, about the brewery experience. And I know we had Anthony on from East Nashville Beer Works, and when they opened their location in Lebanon, how has that evolved for you guys over the last few years? Because, that's what people want now. They want that brewery experience, and you've got a good patio area outside. Can you really describe how that's changed, or if that's changed since you guys opened over the years?
Oh yeah. I mean, we went into it with, I never went into this thinking like, I need to have a nice patio, I'm thinking like, I need a building to put brewing equipment and I need a small tap room, and I used to have this vision in my head that we could do this with me and my daughter and my wife working behind the bar every night pouring beer. And, that we outpaced that very, very fast. Doing that for a couple years and working 100+ hours a week gets old really fast. But, we always went into it with like, music was always a center point, just like with the name, the brewery name, the beer names. I like going out to places and hanging out. You go to breweries and you got somebody playing acoustic music in the corner, and, you just tend to want to eat another piece of pizza or buy another beer and hang around. So we always went into it with the aspect of like trying to make it more, not just about the beer, but the total experience, because we're not, you can go out here and buy a pack of, a 12-pack of domestic beer for, $12, $13, but, we sell an experience where, we give you entertainment. Like tonight is, our Singo night. We do a music bingo game. It's a big hit. People come in, a lot of times you can't even, in the wintertime it's bad because we have limited seating. So it's like people are like standing around trying to find a table kind of thing. Yeah, we've really, and we keep, like I think alcohol and not, even beer, it's taken a hit over the past few years. Just, there's been a big push towards non-alcoholic. There's, you got bourbon and whiskey. Now we're competing with, the CBD stuff, so it's a changing world. So we got to be, I'm always pushing the point is like we got to be unique. We, as much as I went into this saying it's about the beer, it's about the beer, it's about the beer, luckily we have a small kitchen. They put out a lot of food for as big as it is. And if it wasn't for the food, I don't know that we could survive. We might could, we could get by with fewer people and stuff like that. But having the food is something that it brings in people that aren't drinking. Having entertainment brings in people who aren't drinking beer. And also for the people that are drinking beer, craft beer is in a segment that, not knocking it, but it's not in a segment that people just come here to get drunk. But if you have food, it allows somebody to buy another beer, and enjoy the experience a little bit longer. So we really pushed on the whole experience thing more than anything.
And I feel like we need to touch on the food a little bit more because you serve breakfast.
Yeah.
And I don't know too many breweries out there that serve breakfast. In fact, I don't know of any.
We are a weirdo. I feel like there was somebody told me there was another brewery that they know of, but I honestly couldn't name another brewery that has breakfast. I imagine some do brunch, but we're still closed Monday and Tuesday. The guys in, our brewery team's here Monday through Thursday. So we try to knock out a lot of stuff, cleaning kegs and stuff on Monday that's kind of loud. But then, we're sitting here the rest of the week and I'm like, we don't own it. The bank owns it. We're paying for it, but we have a mortgage on this place. And I said, we're already paying all the utilities. And we have a cool coffee shop vibe. I'm like, why don't we open up for breakfast? So we searched around and finally we ended up finding somebody that was perfect. She has baking experience and worked as a barista and stuff like that. So it just, and she can come in and do things. Our breakfast is not lucrative by no means, but we have not given up on it either because I just feel like we have the perfect place for it. But it's one of those things that I've learned in business is like, if you come out as one thing and then you try to change a little bit, like we're just really pushing beer and craft beer and all that. And then we start to try to lean into pushing a little bit more of the food and breakfast. It's hard to kind of break the shell that you've already created as a business. And, we're getting ready to roll some new stuff out and really kind of push what we have to offer from a breakfast and just food in general standpoint. Just because, we're already here. Like, why not? If I can just make enough money to break even, and as far as with the breakfast, it'll come over time for sure. But, like I said, we were already here and I'm like, this is like, I was also, the other thing I equate to it is like when I was toward the end of my corporate career, it gotten more towards people started to work from home and things like that. And I was okay working from home just because I didn't have to drive, but I would get stir crazy. And I was like, I wish there was somewhere I could go to sit down at a coffee shop that wasn't Starbucks or something like that. So I was like, why don't we just open up? And we've been kind of pushing like, hey, you can telecommute and, come in here to the brewery, connect to the Wi-Fi and, work from here and have a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever you want to do. And, that's kind of what we tried to push because that's kind of we do really well on the evenings, especially, on the weekends, but like we have gaps that like we could have people in here. So we've been pushing a lot more. Today we just had a big group from the Air Force Base here and had probably 40 or 50 people in here at 3:00 in the afternoon on a Wednesday doing a big party. So like, how can we get people in here during the day and make better use of the facility that we have?
But I gotta ask this breakfast question. I have to ask this breakfast question though. You can go into a place like a McDonald's or a Hardee's and you can see the same 4 or 5 people, if you went in there almost every day, just sitting at a table, just hanging out because they've known each other for years. Does that happen at your place for breakfast sometimes? You see the same group of people?
It's funny you mentioned that, but because I that's one thing that in the beginning when we opened, our beer permit does not allow us to serve beer before 8:00. So I was like, we're going to open at 8. And then when we open and, we're not very busy, and I'm like, well, like, it's probably because we're not open early enough. And then I go to Hardee's and, you go in there and there's like 20 retired people sitting at a table talking to each other, or the line is wrapped all the way around the building at 9 or 10 o'clock in the morning. I was like, that's not it. We just got to connect. So some of the outreach that and we're getting there. We just haven't hit the breakfast part as much, but like we've got some core lunch people that come in here 2 or 3 days a week. We've got some core people that come in on like a Saturday morning and, come in here, a group of, we call it the Liars Corner, but they're just like a group of like different business owners, lawyers, stuff like that in town that come and just hang out and have a couple beers and, get a pizza or something like that. So we're starting to develop that, but I would say our breakfast hasn't quite hit that point. So I feel like I need to start like a free seniors coffee thing or something.
I've done it. I've driven out there. There was one day I just took off work one day and I just had like a day and I was like, I'm just going to take a little drive. And I kind of headed in your direction. And by the time I got out there, I was like, I had a beer and a biscuit at like 8 a.m. We were 8:30 or something. It was awesome. I was like, this is fantastic.
That's what I feel like I need to do. I need to come there for breakfast. Maybe you could join us one morning.
Yeah. Give me a heads up. I'll definitely, I'm here almost every day. I try to, people are like, I don't see you around much. I was like, you know what? It's like I figured out, plus my doctor told me I needed to take a break every once in a while.
Yeah.
So I was like, I have to slip out of here at some point, but usually, I'm usually here 7 days a week at some point.
Yeah. Okay. Your menu, your beer menu, we've got 20 taps, but your beer menu as far as styles go is you got a lot of variance in there. There's a lot of diversity in there. Is that really important, you guys, to make sure you have, the IPAs and the stouts and the Hefes and something all the time where you've got that diversity?
Oh yeah, most definitely. I mean, we've, up until we've kind of got our process nailed down and we've added some more tanks in production to kind of help with having more of our beer on. But when we first opened, it was like we'd be lucky to get 7 or 8 beers on tap. So we had 12, 13 beers that were guest beers. So our philosophy has always been like, we want to make sure that we've got these styles covered. And then from there, let's just try different things. Let's pull in a Belgian triple or a Belgian double or do sour beers or, we usually, and then ciders are huge. Yeah, that's another thing I tell breweries. Like, I know you may not want to sell ciders, and I know you may only want to have your beer. And in Tennessee, we can't technically make a cider with our beer license because it falls under wine. But because of the ABV, I don't know. It's kind of like a loophole, I guess. We're able to sell them, and that's outside of our beer. That's our top seller, our ciders, because it reaches a different demographic. Because there's some people just don't like the dryness, tartness, whatever you want to call it when it comes to beer. But yeah, we've always just tried to keep those styles so that, there's something on there. Every craft brewery can tell you this now. I mean, the trend is leaning more and more back towards good light lager, stuff like that. People seem to be kind of leaning back that way, but still IPA is the king. We got to have 2 or 3 IPAs on. We got to have a hazy on. So if we don't, because of timing of production, we don't have a hazy IPA on, I'll pull a Bearded Iris or Southern Grist or Living Waters. We try to stick where we can to whatever guest beers we have being, Tennessee breweries. But we're beer nerds. So, if we get a chance to get some Burial Beer or Equilibrium or something else from, that's a really popular beer, we'll pull those in. And I don't know where we're at now. My daughter handles most of the ordering, but we usually have somewhere in like the 50 to 60 different canned beers that we have in our cooler, and the vast majority of those are guest beers. So yeah, we try to have something for everybody because it's one of those things. It's shocking to me. One of the beers that, and we haven't done it ourselves, but one of the beers that sell really, really good for us is, Belgian triples. I mean, you're talking about a 9 to 10% beer.
Yeah.
We'll go through a half barrel of that in a weekend sometimes. Wow, we don't have any on tap. We just actually put a collab on that we did with Wonderlinger. It's a Belgian dark strong, which is right at 9%. And I don't imagine that thing's going to last very long because it's one of those beers that people just, I think I'm going to have to probably start putting it in like a 4-ounce glass though, so I don't have to call somebody a taxi.
Well, it's very specific beer too. So I think if people know you've got it, like, oh, we're going to go get there and get this thing.
Oh yeah. And that's one thing, it's being in a small town, you would think that, and we did that intentionally, like, our the market outside of people who like craft beer, like light beer, or like, sweet, ciders or something like that. So, we really tried to push on that, but I'm telling you, it's crazy here. Like the people that came in here in the beginning, they're like, I like Miller Lite. And now they're drinking Universal Sound or hazy beer or drinking a sour. It just like I feel like our town is becoming a craft beer town.
Yeah, you've got a great reputation in the beer community for sure.
Really do. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And we live in Nashville, and we know, like, when somebody says Common John, our ears perk up, and we're like, yeah, go out there, go check it out. Like, you guys have a really great reputation.
And I tell people this, and I mean it. I'm not being conceited or cocky, but our brewery has more touch with every brewery in the state than anybody else. I guarantee you, hands down. And it's not because of me. It's because I don't know if I've got 2 buddies that live here in the town. John Pritt, he's the one that helps put on the beer fest. And then, Richard Goodwin, he's, Goody's World of Beer. Those 2 dudes are craft beer fiends. They are always going somewhere. I think Goody's he does the Hot Passport thing. He's like an ambassador for Hot Passport. He has won Kentucky and Georgia and Tennessee and all this. He just goes away for the weekend and goes to all these, and they always take stickers and they're always talking up Common John and getting to know these people. And that's part of like with both Goody and John, they go out and they make these contacts, and then that's what gets people here to do the beer fest too, just because, and I have people I used to work with, and they'll send me pictures and stuff. They're like, I'm in the airport at, in Costa Rica or Puerto Rico or somewhere, and there's somebody here with a Common John shirt, or I was in this brewery in the Keys or somewhere in Florida, and your sticker is behind the bar. It's like, it's because of all the crazy people that come here. They're just like such family and friends that they go out and they spread the word and stuff. And like I said, heck, last weekend, me and my wife and her sister and brother-in-law, we left here. We went to, cause we had, I don't remember what was going on. Oh, it was the snow and everything. So I'd been out here cleaning the parking lot. I was like, I got to go have a beer somewhere that's not here at Common John. So we went to see Brandon at Middle Ground in Murfreesboro. Then we went over to the new East Nashville location. Then we went to Smith and Lentz. And then we ended up at Marble Fox. So we're always going out, and going to all these breweries. And so it's just funny because we do it so much and we get to know all these people. And I think between the 3 of us, we have been to every brewery in the state of Tennessee multiple times. So
yeah.
LeBron, sorry, let me just ask a quick question before we go on with that. Has there been a point in time where you have looked at your brewery and said, we're not just a local brewery anymore. We're a destination, because you are halfway between Nashville and halfway between Chattanooga?
Oh, most definitely. And I would, it's funny you bring that up, because I got a guy on our team here. He does our sound and helps with some of our like digital marketing and stuff like that. And, we've always kind of joked about like, and it's not just us, it's even the people in our like local government that come here and they're like, we are shocked. I mean, and those guys will come in and they'll start talking to somebody randomly just to find out where they're from. And they're like, we're shocked at the number of people that drive from Murfreesboro, or they're just passing through on the interstate and come here because they're looking for a brewery to come stop and have a beer. And we were talking, and I was like, I would estimate, based on my feel, that 50% or more of the people that come in here don't live in this town or this county.
Wow.
And we just had a meeting recently with this company that does like the geo-tracking thing where they can actually tell you, and it was 60% of our customers that come here are from out of this city.
Wow. And do you know what the average is by any chance when people are putting those statistics together?
We're also blessed being next to the interstate, so it's natural we could have more than that. Somebody out in the middle of, the country where they don't have that access. But I don't know. I mean, it's got to be.
I'd be curious. I mean, 60% seems pretty high.
Yeah, I mean, I would think for breweries it's going to be higher than most industries outside of, say, an interstate fast food restaurant. But for a local business, I think breweries probably, because people come for the experience. They come for because. I don't know. I mean, to me, beer is more unique than even food is necessarily. It's like, like I can show you, I don't know that I can taste the difference between 5 or 6 different steaks, but you could lay out 20 different, German Pilsners and they're all going to have some very unique thing about them, so I don't know. Maybe it's just because the beer is just so unique and people want to go and try the different flavors, It's kind of like a local thing, like our water profile is not the same as Murfreesboro's. So, the guys at Panther Creek could make a beer exactly the same as mine and it's not going to taste the same.
Yeah, you referenced it earlier. If you guys had if 3 people made you had the same exact ingredients and the same recipe, made them it's going to be 3 different beers or three variants of that beer, like you said.
Yeah.
Hey, you mentioned Singo is one of the events you do in the tap room. What are some other things? Because you guys are loaded down with stuff that you guys do there all the time. What are some of the other events you guys have in the tap room?
We do, against my best wishes, we have karaoke on Thursdays, but I joke. You know how karaoke is. I can't sing. I tell people if you catch me singing, dancing, or smoking, take my keys because I don't need to drive. But we do karaoke on Thursday night, and I have to give them credit. We have a bunch of regulars that come in for it, and they are awesome. I joke about karaoke because karaoke can be horrible too, but we've done it long enough that there are people that are serious about it. But we do the single on Wednesday. We do karaoke Thursday, Friday, Saturday is usually our live music days. We kind of pare back in the wintertime just to kind of give our team a little bit of a break because, like my guy that runs sound, it's tough to ask somebody to be here Friday and Saturday night, 52 weeks out of the year, So we usually kind of pare back. We're starting to ramp back up. Usually in the wintertime, we do live music on Friday nights. And then we do an alternating every other week. We have a comedy. We have some guys that come in and do a little small comedy show. It's like an hour long. It's a little ticketed event. The money that we collect goes back to the, helping pay for the guy that, the sound and stuff like that. It's not anything super lucrative for anybody, but we love comedy and it's a cool little thing to do. We have a poker league every Sunday. It's one of those like world poker league things where you get free to play and then they compete for chance to go to Las Vegas and compete for like $100,000 purse or something like that. And they have different areas, like there's different regions and they compete for points and stuff to kind of get, we pay a subscription fee for it and then they award gifts and stuff and prizes back to the people that participate based on how well they've done. We do, every other Sunday we have like an open mic thing, a guy hosts here and we'll have kids that are 7, 8 years old up there playing the guitar and stuff like that. We get a ton of, that's a good time. It's been pretty interesting to see some of the younger folks that come in that played 6 or 8 months ago and see how far they've progressed because they've, kind of cracked that shell and got on stage in front of people and then they go home and practice every night. So that's pretty fun. But we do, once we get into summertime, we have a few, like maybe 5 or 6 of big events every year where they're like ticketed. We try to mix it up every year. We'll do like different cover bands. We'll have a Queen band, a Leonard Skinner, AC/DC, stuff like that, where we sell tickets to. We started last year. We had gotten contacted a couple times from them, and they got in touch with me, and we were talking about it. We did a micro wrestling thing out of. They're based out of Pigeon Forge, and they're like, "Hey, we're traveling through, and we got an open spot on a Tuesday night." And I'm like, "Well, we're not open on Tuesday, but how many tickets do you think we could sell for this?" And he's like, "Well, we could sell 500 tickets." And I'm like, "Well, I don't have enough space for 500 people out there where we'd have to put the ring." I said, "But we could do, if it would work for you, I think we could do like 300, 350 or something." He's like, "Yeah, we'll do it." We sold that's the biggest event we've ever had. We oversold it. We sold almost 400 tickets to the micro wrestling, and it was the coolest thing that we have ever done here. It's called the MWF, but they're based out of Pigeon Forge, but the most professional group. I mean, we've never done wrestling. I'm a lifelong wrestling fan anyway, but, we'd never done any other events of this, and they were just so easy to work with. The guy called within an hour. He sent me the contract, sent me the social media post, sent me a picture where he had all the tickets and all the flyers in the mail. And it was the smoothest thing we ever did. And, we did it on a Tuesday night, completely sold it out, did more business than we would do on a really good Friday night for just a few hours. So it was like one of those things, and people love it. They're on me now, like, well, you're going to do this again. Yeah. Yep, we're going to do it 2 times this year.
Is that the same league that's got the TV show? Because I watched that show. It's amazing. It is amazing. Yeah,
it was like on, I forget what the channel was. It was one of the major cable channels. They did like one season, and now I think they have like a YouTube series it's on.
That's funny.
Now, but it was awesome. They did a killer. Heck, I would love to have the daggum money they got from merchandise that night. They probably made a killing, but it was,
right?
It was a really cool thing, but we kind of mix it up. We try to do a little bit of everything. We kind of keep it fresh, and, like I said, there's not, outside of Bonnaroo, there's not a whole lot of entertainment that goes on around here.
Hey, I want to ask you about that.
That's a good lead in, yeah.
Yeah, I want to ask you about Bonnaroo, because obviously that's a huge music festival that's been going on. As you know, you lived there for years and years. Do you guys have any involvement in that festival?
Yeah, we do. We've got a couple different relationships. We actually, we sell, they have it used to be a lot more of a craft beer tent. They actually used to have a tent right in the middle of what they call the Centeroo area. And you could go in and buy tickets, and then they would have like 20 breweries, and each brewery would have 2 or 3 different beers, and you could like redeem your ticket. So you could give 1 ticket for like a 2-ounce pour, or give 6 tickets for a 12-ounce pour or something. But they kind of pared it back, and they have like a tent off to the side where they put their kind of, I say craft because some of the stuff is not what I would consider craft. It's kind of some of the stuff comes from some of the, the Bud and Miller guys that bought up some of those brands. But we sell about 10 barrels of beer in 1 week to those guys. So it's good for us. We haven't gotten into there yet with, we just started canning last year before we, the big get is if we can get, they only do the draft in one little space, but if we can get our cans in there, then they have tents all over the grounds where they sell cans. So we're hoping this year to kind of get our foot in the door on that. But then I guess it started probably 5 or 6 years ago. From what I understand, it started as a Reddit group, and they call it Camp Reddaroo. And they partnered with Pontoon and did a special beer, and they released that beer for like 4 years in a row. And then Pontoon, prior to last year, they ran into some issues and closed down for a while, and then they've recently opened back up and kind of pared down a little bit from what they were doing. But they came to us last year, and they're like, hey, you're in Manchester, like, let's partner together on doing a beer. And we did it kind of still tie in like we do with our, with naming our beers. Like when they got with us, we're like, okay, first off, it's the summertime. We need to have a beer that people want to drink in the summertime. And, we kind of kicked around some ideas, and we ended up doing a peach wheat beer, a little bit like 5%, easy drinking. Peach is kind of weird. It's a very subtle peach, but I'm drawing a blank now, the name of one of the headliners, but they have a mix that they do called Rainbows and Waterfalls. And we're like, one of the guys in the group with the Camp Reddaroo group came up with the name. And I'm like, that's perfect because, if you think about Bonnaroo and all the colors they use, they've got the rainbow, Bonnaroo arch. So we actually, and I don't have one with me now. I don't know if you guys saw it, but, Derek, who's now full time on our team, he designed the can. We did 2 full batches. We put it on tap here. I think we did 60 something cases. We donated 20 cases of it to they do a craft beer exchange on on the concert grounds, and it gets all sanctioned by Bonnaroo. They let us use their logo, their arch logo on it. All of the profit that we generated from that, we're going to be making an announcement pretty soon. I haven't did all the calculations, but we're going to be donating all the profit that came off of that back to their Bonnaroo Works Fund, which is they use for planting trees and they use it to spread to different charitable organizations and stuff. But we're going to be announcing that pretty soon for this year. And we're planning to do it again. But the other cool thing about that was our can company, they're called DigiCan, but they do like a digitally printed can. So it prints all the way from the bottom to the top.
Oh yeah.
So there's no shrink wrap. There's no paper label on this. So this can's a lot more recyclable. But we were trying to we had a previous supplier and they were like, we're just too far behind. We can't do it. And we met these folks at the Craft Brewers Conference and they're like, yeah, we'll do it. So they actually donated the cans to us. I drove to St. Louis, picked them up. They had an internal vote on that can design in their company, and it made the top 6, and they submitted it to an international design award. And we won the first place out of
wow, congratulations,
international design award and it's not just beer. It was anything that was digitally printed on a metal product.
Wow.
So, they're sending us we just found out about it a couple months ago, but they're sending us one of the awards. So we'll be making an announcement about that, but that was a pretty big thing, for our team to be able to get that and be involved with that, because that's, Bonnaroo's huge around here for the community. And,
yeah,
it brings a lot of tax dollars into our little small town, because we go from, I think we go to being like the 5th largest town in the state for that one weekend because of all the people that come in here.
Jesus.
So have you ever get any famous singers in there coming to your brewery from there?
I'm sure. I can't. We've had a few. We also have the Caverns, which is down in Pelham, Tennessee. I don't know if you guys have heard about it, but it's a concert venue that's inside of a cave. We've gotten a few of those guys up here, and I'm sure there's probably been some artists come through that I didn't know about, but I can't tell you of any that have been here that are. We've done pushes, like we pushed a couple of years ago to try to get Dave Grohl in here, but it never worked.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
That would have been great. Hey, LeBron, you're part of the Tennessee Craft Brewers Guild, and Eric told us a story about you that I think you kind of led the charge on something about being able for breweries to deliver beer directly to people's homes. Can you talk about that? What that is? Did that kind of go through, or is that something that's still in the works? Or
well, it's something that's. And I'll be honest with you, I actually called him because we've gotten a fair amount of people that have contacted us about, hey, do you deliver? And I'm like, well, my understanding is during COVID, they lifted those things and it was in an effort to help businesses like craft breweries so that they allowed that employees of the craft brewery could physically deliver beer to people. They could take it to them or, they could, of course, we can sell beer to go. But they also opened up, like you could go to the Mexican restaurant and get like a margarita in a cup and take it home with you, kind of stuff like that. But a lot of that stuff got lifted. So I was just recently called him because, like I said, he's our guild president now. And even back before that, he was one that really, really helped to push to expand our distribution rights. So it's something we're looking at. We haven't really delved into it a whole lot. The other crazy thing, and I'm still trying to dig into it, is that even like, my understanding from the law is like, I can order a beer, and actually one of the guys here in the brewery just did it not long ago. He ordered a special beer from Highwire. They shipped it to his house, but I cannot legally ship a beer from here to your house in Tennessee, but you can order beer from other states. So that's something that's kind of been a little bit of a pet project for me, but I haven't, like I said, I'm not even scratching the surface yet. It's more like trying to figure out, am I right in my interpretation of this? And, but I don't know. We're in a small town, and like it would be kind of cool if we could have a service like that. Where like, once a week we got a driver who'll come out and deliver the beer to you. If you're somebody that doesn't want to get out, or just like me sometimes, I just don't want to leave my house.
Yeah, I know. I actually utilized that during COVID. I think maybe it was Southern Grist or somebody was offering a service, and they brought me some right over. But one of the questions we asked with Eric was, I can get like the beer service, like, a beer drop was one. And I used to be a member of, and, you know, once a month, they, you know, deliver some stuff to your house. And most of the stuff was kind of out of a Colorado or wherever, but I can't get Burial to ship stuff into Tennessee. So I didn't know if that was a state thing at the time or something, or.
Yeah, some of it. It sounds like technically like with Burial, I mean, Highwire's over there and I know they've shipped in here, and it could be just their own personal decision, but
yeah,
you know, because it is when there are some issues with those of us that have submitted beer and shipped it outside the state know that you're not supposed to like ship through U.S. Postal Service, and even UPS and FedEx. You know, the little bit of a loophole is like samples for testing. So that's the way that we, you know, when we ship beer off to beer competitions, it's always like, this is a sample for testing. It's not beer. Because if you tell them it's beer, they'll be like, nope, you can't do this.
Yeah, I've been known to maybe do some beer trades, and I might not have mentioned exactly what was in the box. They didn't ask. I didn't tell them.
Yeast samples. That's technically right too.
There's
always a little bit of yeast left in there.
That's a real good one. I'm going to use that one. Well, great. Steve, do you have anything else?
No, I actually don't. I've enjoyed very much all of this today, LeBron. I don't know if there's anything else that we had missed that you wanted to touch on with us.
No, I mean, I guess I don't, you guys, I guess you haven't heard because you didn't ask me, but we are planning in the next few months to open our second location.
No way.
That was actually a question. Sorry, before you say that was actually a question that I had written down that I forgot to ask. It was my last question, and I didn't want to keep you. So let me not interrupt. The floor is all yours.
Yeah, so we've been blessed. I never got into this with thinking that we were going to go anywhere beyond where we're at. But I think that, you know, we kind of hit on all cylinders when it came to the brand and you know, maybe my attention, like, can I say anal? I'm very anal myself. But you know, like, I think our beer is taking off, and honestly, if I've had 20 people come to me and not just like, hey, you should open here, of like, hey, you need to come look at this place. And, you know, we've got a lot here that we want to do. I mean, we've been blessed that we've been able to buy extra property around us to kind of expand. We've got another building on this facility that we're already started to purchase larger equipment so we can have, I mean, we're 7 barrels. So it's, like I said, we've got a couple beers that we're brewing pretty much every week. So we were already looking at, expanding production, but trying to keep what we have here. Like, we want to still keep, you know, the brewing equipment inside the building so people can see it, but we need to get to the point where we're, you know, cause if you know anything about brewing, I mean, to make 100 barrels or 5 gallons, it's the time you do it is about the same. I mean, it takes so much time to mash, so much time to boil, so much time to ferment. So, you know, the economies of scale. So we were already looking at expanding, and then, like I said, we've had everywhere around us. We've had multiple places, and we got contacted through somebody with tourism about in Giles County in Pulaski. They were looking to get a brewery in there. They have a new mayor, and he's really pushing to kind of revamp their downtown. And I know the guy. We work with the tourism group, and I was like, okay, I'll come over there, but I just don't see that's over an hour away from us. I just don't see that it would work. But in the back of my head, a lot of the places that had talked to us was like, I felt like we're too close. Like, I didn't want to cannibalize any of the business that we had here by having somebody that was 15, 20, 30 minutes away. And I've never really had, even though we've been asking, I never really had the desire to necessarily go to like the larger towns. I just feel like, you know, it's like you go to Nashville, there's a lot of breweries there. You know, go to Chattanooga, there's a lot of breweries. And I just feel like we want to kind of reach, you know, the areas that are untapped when it comes to the craft beer. And I went over and looked at it, and just the spot that they had, the location that they asked us to go into, I was like, this is just like, if I could have painted a picture that was the building that I would have put this brewery in to start with, that was it. That's awesome. So I came back, talked to my partner, and I'm like, you're going to think I'm crazy, but you need to go with me to Pulaski. And she's like, why do we got to go to Pulaski? I said, they want a brewery in Pulaski. She's like, I don't think this is going to work. I said, give it a chance. Give it a chance. She went over there, fell in love with it too. It kind of checks all the boxes. You know, it's, they have a really big technical school there. They've got, used to be Martin Methodist. The UT school systems bought it over. It's, UT Southern is the college now. They're really putting a lot of effort into expanding it. They've already, I think, over doubled their student population there. And they're just really, as a chamber and an administration, they're just really trying to push to kind of revamp their town. And, you know, it was one of those things and they're also, if you look at that, there's like I call it a triangle between I-24, I-40 and the state line. Outside of us, there's not a lot. I mean, you got to go to Columbia, Mount Pleasant to get to another brewery, which is 45 minutes an hour away. There's just this huge gap. There's like nobody that's penetrating that market when it comes to craft beer. You know, and after we got back and started talking about it, I'm like, I just feel like we could replicate the same thing and hit a pocket of people that are not getting exposed to craft beer and the experience as you guys talked about it. So it was kind of one of those things where they gave us a deal. It was hard for us to pass up, but just it kind of checked all the boxes. So we're in the middle of renovations there. Hopefully, it's not going to be as long as what we had here because we pretty much had to rebuild this place from the ground up. But, we finished the demo inside the building. We're about to wrap up the painting and, you know, we've already bought brewing equipment to put in there. And, we're shooting for early spring, but worst case is kind of our drop dead is trying to be open before, you know, the beginning of summertime. So that'll be our second location. And then as soon as we get that up and going, we're going to be expanding production here, in our, y'all been here. So you saw the building down below the Quonset barn. We call it the hangar. So we're going to be, we're planning to renovate that, put the bigger brewing equipment in there and have, you know, a little bit bigger, like commercial kind of, brewing setup there, and kind of keep it on site here and keep the majority of the production coming out of here, but then doing some, you know, limited production there in Pulaski to kind of hit that market and stuff and then supplement from what we make here in-house.
That's amazing. Congratulations. That is cool. Yeah. That is really cool, man.
So in a market that everybody's pulling back on, we're going all in on. So don't call me crazy. If it doesn't work, you can tell me you told me so. But if it
No, I like it. We've had many conversations with people just about how the craft beer scene right now, it's not working out for some and some are expanding like you and Crazy Gnome's doing something. And so I'm still it's happy that still lives, you know, even though there are some breweries that are closing.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, I think it comes down to just, you know, being on your toes and being flexible and, you know, like, again, I went into this where it was going to be all about the beer and nothing else but the beer. Yeah. But like, you know, we're planning on doing some stuff here pretty soon where we're going to expand to have, you know, like some, you know, limited, I mean, still going to lean on the beer, but having some wine options and stuff like that to kind of draw more people in. Yeah. And I think even with that is as people, you get those people in here, they're going to start to experiment. So I think bringing people in that like wine or spirits and stuff, you're going to gradually start to pull some of those over to the beer side. And I joke about it, but I think Zool is like that. I'm sure you guys have had their mixtape, their PB&J.
Yeah.
I joke like, is this really a beer? But I mean, like, it's bringing people in the beer that would not have drank beer before. So I love it. I love that. You know, it's like the purist in me hates it, but then the business owner in me is like, the more people that I can get in, because eventually those people are going to be like, oh, let me try something else. And then they're drinking a hazy IPA or a West Coast IPA. You know?
You got them hooked at that point.
Yeah. And you got to keep evolving. That's for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And again, like you talked about having wine and liquor and stuff. Now there's something for everyone. You know, big groups can come out and you know, we've got some friends that don't necessarily like beer, so we go places sometimes that have wine or have everything. So if you can have that, then and they got people that are coming in that wouldn't necessarily drink beer, but they're going to hang out. They're going to spend, you know, several hours, and it's just a great thing.
Oh, I know. I've got buddies that they're like, if you just had wine, I would be there a whole lot more often. My wife would say, okay, let's go.
Awesome. Well, cool, man. I think I've got all my stuff. I'm through all my stuff, Steve.
Yeah, me too. It's funny, like I said, when you said, are you almost done? And I looked up and I'm like, that was actually my last question. My last question was, ever discuss expanding outside of Manchester? And then you all of a sudden started. I'm like, why? And I'm glad you brought it up. So thank you, man.
I can vouch for him. I do see the question. He did have it written down. He just
I get that question a lot, so I figured it was coming if
That's
I
great.
didn't answer.
LeBron, this has been a pleasure, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it. We love doing stuff like this. Like I said, it's for the love of the beer, It's one of those things that you can, I know it can be dangerous when you take too much of it or ingest too much of it, but it's also it's the thing that brings people together. So that's kind of what we lean on, is like the family and the atmosphere and stuff like that, is getting people together. It's crazy the relationships that have been built here, and people that met here and got married, or the people that that move here from California or wherever else that come to this place and call it home now. It's really heartwarming.
Community thing is one of the best things about just craft beer, just the community thing. It's one of my favorite things, and we've heard it many times, and I love it. It's a great, even on social media, we've met a lot of people this way, and we've, talking to you, like, we're doing beer trays with people now, and it's just a great scene altogether.
Yeah, right. And I'm telling you, man, it is, there's always those people, and I honestly couldn't name one of them, but I mean, like, it shocks me. And I'm maybe surprisingly, I'm a somewhat quiet guy when I get outside of this place. Like, if I go to other breweries, I hardly ever mention that I have anything to do with the brewery. But if they do find out, it's like, oh my God, come back here and try this, or, then we develop this long-term relationship. And I mean, I'm not lying. I mean, I've probably got 20 or 30 different brewery owners or brewers on my phone that I talk to on a consistent basis. And it's such a family. It is. I mean, I couldn't name a single person in this state that if I called them right now, they wouldn't answer and give me feedback on something, because I say all the time, I'm definitely not the smartest person in the room, and I lean on everybody else's experience to try to be better about what I do. So,
well, that alone makes you pretty smart.
Get the Common John. They're in Manchester, Tennessee, and soon going to be in Pulaski as well. I can't wait to get there. Thanks, man. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.